Hey, it's another one of these. This time, balance ideas for the Demolition Man in Team Fortress 2. It's all in the title, you get it. Not the end-all be-all on how to balance a weapon, just ideas. Demoman is kind of a weird case, where he has a handful of weapons that currently share very little in common with their past versions. Some of them having almost none of the same stats, namely the Loch-n-Load, the Claidheamh Mòr, and the Persian Persuader. It's kind of strange where I'd probably say both the pre-Tough Break and current Persian Persuader are fairly well-balanced weapons, yet they share almost nothing in common stat-wise. At least directly. Is there really a reason why they couldn't just be two separate weapons? Or even the Loch-n-Load. Couldn't that be two weapons? Well, I can't be the only one who misses the good old two-shot more damage Loch-n-Load, right? It's got two barrels. It made sense. I demand realism in my retro-futuristic cartoon shooter. I'd wager that a good chunk of people liked or preferred previous versions of the Loch-n-Load to the one we have now. But that's the one we have. So if you could make a weapon based on the old Loch-n-Load and have it be different enough from the current one, I can't really see a reason why they couldn't be two different weapons. Just give one of them a new model and there you go. So let's say instead of a 20% damage bonus to buildings, it just does 15% more damage. So that's 115 damage per grenade. Then, of course, you lower the clip size penalty from 25% to 50%, and I'm gonna say change launched bombs shatter on surfaces to launched bombs explode on surfaces. But you couple that with a minus 70% explosion radius penalty on surfaces. Very similar to the direct hit. That way you don't need to be dead on accurate to get damage off if you can make use of the surface explosions. But with grenades that explode on surfaces, that basically means you could kinda do rocket jumps, like a soldier. And while that might be kinda neat, I say you kneecap that a little bit with a minus 50% self-damage force penalty. Now I don't know exactly what that would be like, but let's say it allows for little detonator type hops. So this way you got two shots that deal more damage, small explosions on surfaces, and the ability to do mini grenade jumps. That might work as a way to bring back the feeling of the old Loch-n-Load, but while still adding something new. Alright, this is one I know some people disagree with me on, but I've always kinda wished that the Wii Booties worked decently well for both Demonite loadouts and explosive loadouts. I guess you could kind of argue that the previous version did that, but I'll get to that later. But I feel like you can still have the Booties have stats that lean in favor of Demonite, but still offer something more with the sticky bomb launchers. As of right now, it only offers 25 more health, which is all well and good, but you're gonna be giving up a grenade launcher for it. Before Meet Your Match, the faster move speed didn't require a shield. I suppose the TF2 team figured that it was too good with stickies, which is debatable, but faster move speed is something that could benefit all loadouts. Slapping on a shield restriction for a somewhat arbitrary reason is I don't like it. If the faster move speed was considered unbalanced, then remove it. Replace it with something else. Rework the weapon a little. I think at this point, it might be better if you had the Booties either have its main focus on bulk or mobility. Maybe not both. There could always be another pair of boots that focuses on the other. I mean, you even got the bootlegger that's just kind of sitting there. But considering the Booties' original main feature was the health, I'd say we go with bulk for this one. So I'm gonna say chuck both the faster move speed and the turn control. The better turn control was more or less made irrelevant by the Tide Turner anyway. Now way back when the Cozy Camper became the first weapon to give a non-medic class health recovery, I thought it had potential to work with the Booties, which were much worse back then. At that time, the max health regen was 1, but now the standard is up to 4. So let's just say up to 4 max health regenerated per second on wearer, but have it decreased when the user's damaged. A Demonite is probably going to be running in and out of battle, so this just allows him to heal off a little bit of damage when he's not actively fighting. But this could also work for a defensive Demoman who wants to hang in the back and lay traps while he's healing. Then to put some more focus back on the Demonite thing, increase the charger filled on melee kill from 25% to 50%. And add a 20% increase in damage taken from blast jumping. The charge restoration is just a little extra bonus for using shields, but the increased self-damage from sticky jumps helps to offset the extra health and the health recovery. It's really not going to help that much when it comes to explosive mobility. If you're looking at this from a perspective of how annoying is this to fight against, well this way you no longer have faster than Scout Islander Demonites, and the health regen isn't exactly going to be super useful in the heat of battle. This might be a way to balance it okay for both shields and stickies, but still have the focus kind of on shields. The Booties aren't really a weapon I see discussed that much, so if you got any neato ideas, leave a comment. I'd be interested to see. Demonite got hit pretty hard in Tough Break. It got some things to compensate, but I think most of us would agree that it got nerfed. And I would say a little bit too much. The Shield Bash crit at any range was changed to only mini crit when the charge is below 25% depleted, and full crit when below 60% depleted. Which I think the concept is okay, because crits at any range could get annoying, but I think you could maybe tweak those percentages a bit. Say by reducing the depletion required for a mini crit from 25% to 20%, and from 60% to 50% for the full crit. That way you don't need to cover quite as much distance. Demoman is already kinda predictable and easy to counter, so maybe offer back a little bit more reward. And speaking of shields, the Chargin Targe only offers 10% more explosive resistance than the Splendid Screen. The main thing the Targe has going for it over the other shields is its resistances, but the Splendid Screen offers almost as much blast resistance as the Targe does. Prior to the Tough Break update, the Chargin Targe's blast resistance was 40%. I'd say go back to that and instead reduce the fire resistance from 50% to 40%. Now just like the other two shields, they're even. But I'd take less explosive damage over less fire damage any day. The Tide Turner is another weapon that got hit pretty hard by Tough Break. It's not awful as it is, but it probably got the shortest end of the stick as far as shields go, with its resistances being lowered and only offering mini crits from charging, which is a pretty big downgrade from a full crit. And the Tide Turner already has the downside that your charge time gets reduced from taking damage, so maybe bring back a little more offensive power by allowing it to actually crit after certain percentages, like the other shields. But that could come at the cost of reducing the charge restored on melee kill from 75% to 50%. Fair enough. Sword weapons! You know what update those got nerfed in? Tough Break! Now I actually don't really mind the slower holster and deploy penalty when it comes to swords. It's there to offset the extra range. But 100% slower for both is kind of dumb. It takes a full second to take out or put away a sword, and people think the extinguisher is bad. I say drop both penalties from 100% slower to 66% slower, going from a 1 second switch to a 0.83 second switch. It's still noticeably slower than stock, but not nearly as bad. An easy way to balance the Claidheamh Mòr would be to go back to the previous version, right? Yeah, pretty much. Well, that's a cop-out answer. I might have a way to buff the current Claid to make it more unique, but also have it be reminiscent of the old one. By adding, gain a speed boost after your charge is ended. A disciplinary action type boost for 3 seconds after your charge ends. You don't gain crits or mini crits during this time, but you still gain 3 seconds of speed boost to chase down enemies or to run away. Which kinda gives similar functionality to the old increased charge duration. So yeah. I do like the concept of the Ullapool Caber. It's an exploding melee weapon on the class with 2 other explosive weapons. But from a balance perspective, it hasn't always been so great. The original version could one-shot 5 out of 9 classes, and the current version is bad. It might not deal 150 damage anymore, but it still deals a good chunk of damage for a single melee hit. The super slow deploy is what really hurts it though. Drop that from 100% slower to 50% slower, and it becomes somewhat usable. And basically, since this weapon came out, people have talked about a recharge mechanic for you to get a new Caber after it's exploded. Now, back when the Caber killed almost anything it touched without most of the penalties it has now, I wouldn't have thought that was a good idea. But nowadays, maybe. Let's say after it's detonated, there's a 30-second recharge before a new one is restored. However, if the broken Caber is active when the time is up, it will require you to switch off before you gain a new unexploded one. So it doesn't really work if you're going full Caber Demoman. But maybe that's for the best. It still deploys slower, but now you can use it a little more freely without needing to go back to spawn to get another one. Alright, that's it. That's all the balance ideas I got. What do people think of the Quickie Bomb Launcher? I mean, people made a big deal out of that when it got buffed in Meet Your Match. But it doesn't really seem like people really talk about it much anymore. Doesn't really seem like that big of a deal. But anyway, next time's gonna be the heavy weapons guy. That should be fun. We're already done with 4 out of 9 of these things. How many more until we actually get another update? Who knows? I don't. Anyway, that's it. This video's over. Bye-bye.